Welcome to Not What I Thought. I'm Erica.
I'm Yolanda.
And I'm Becca. We're therapists, entrepreneurs, and perfectly imperfect humans.
We first met during a business owner retreat where we became fast friends because we're not afraid to be real and ask the hard questions about life. What we thought it would be like, how messy it actually is, and the courage it takes to create the life we want.
We continue to build our friendship and personal growth through our own retreats. We find the deepest connection in sharing our struggles and finding what we have in common rather than what divides us.
We're breaking down hard topics on our podcast and together have conversations about what it takes to find real talk, real support, and real rest for professional women. We're glad you're here. Join us on your favorite podcast platform. Great. Thanks, everybody, and welcome to Not What I Thought. We're so excited to have Courtney with us today, who's going to be giving us a Not What I Thought about empty nesting.
Yeah.
So, Courtney, if you want to just jump right in with your story.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's so fun being here with all three of you at the same time. So fun.
Yeah, and we're all in the same space today, so we're really excited about that.
Well, it surprised me when you first came up. I'm like, oh, you're literally all here together. That's so fun.
We're all like tight, snuggled together.
All together. I love it on one Zoom screen. It's so I feel lucky. Well, yeah. So my story is I have three grown boys. So I have twins that are 22, and then I have a 19-year-old. And we recently, just over the last year, became empty nesters. And what was kind of, I think, presented to me from society and also a little bit from my mom was just when your kids leave home, it's really hard.
Mhm.
Like prepare to grieve, prepare to be confused, prepare to not be clear, prepare to be wanting to get mad at your husband all the time because now you're just dealing with him. So I really kind of thought that was what I was going to be expecting, and that is not at all my experience. And I've been having a lot of fun kind of shouting it from the rooftop that I'm very much living a different experience. And then what is happening is I'm having more and more people come up to me going, I totally agree. But they say it like they're kind of we're in a back alley and they're like, I totally agree with you. I'm having a really good time. I love my kids and I call them when I, want to connect with them, but I'm really enjoying my life. I'm like, me too. So that is my, not what I thought experience that brought me here today.
So can I jump in, Courtney, as a fellow empty nester?
Yes.
And we are not supposed to make this podcast about our moms, but but you just put it out there, and so I have to follow up.
I welcomed it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can relate to a lot of what you're saying, including what was modeled to me growing up as I was getting ready to leave the house. So do you have anything more to say about kind of what was modeled to you and what you were stepping into this season of your life,
Yeah.
by way of having it being modeled by your mother or other women around you?
Yeah. Yeah. What was modeled to me, I'm very close to my mom, and my mom was a stay-home mom, and she went to college and everything, but she chose to be a stay-home mom. And it was, I think what was modeled to me was like, this is really hard. And then I remember even my mother-in-law saying, I think we hear so much of society saying this, that you drop your kids off at college and you cry for 3 days. And then I've heard literally people say, like, I had a really rough 6 months. And so it was not just my mom, but it was other moms that said that and just how hard it is. And so I was kind of like, I was thinking to myself, I don't think that's going to be mean, but I definitely wasn't sharing that with anyone. But I was kind of preparing myself for this is going to be really hard. And one of my twins left, and that wasn't hard. And then the second one left. That wasn't hard. And then my baby, who's my baby, he left. And I actually will say that I dropped him off at college alone. My husband was on a business trip, so I dropped him off at college alone. And I remember thinking, oh, this is the first one I'm dropping off. And so I'm sure I'm going to cry after, like, I'm sure, right? I'm finally going to understand what all these women say. And I did. I actually was on the freeway home crying, but I was crying because I was so excited for all of us. And I literally was sitting there crying, going, this is amazing. I'm crying because I'm so excited for him and I'm so excited for me. And I drove the 5.5 hours and then I got home, and what you see right now, my beautiful office was his bedroom. I took everything out. I primed it, and the next morning it was first layer of paint, and within 2 days it was my new office. And I'm like, let's go. Like,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
just, yeah, so I just thought maybe I'm a little bit different. And the reason why I'm excited to share it and have this conversation with so many people is I find more and more people saying, I had a quite similar experience. So, and sometimes I know that if we only hear one kind of experience, we don't realize that another experience is available to
Yeah.
us.
Well, I again, I can really relate. My experience of getting ready to leave my family of origin and my interaction with my mom was that the closer it got to me leaving for college, the more she would say things like, "I'm going to go to bed now. Do you want to go to bed with me?" Some really off the wall. "Do you want to go to bed with me?" I'm like, "No, I think that's not going to happen. That's kind of weird." And to your point, this I'm distraught and my world is ending. And I kind of like you have been very excited. I have 3 adult children as well. We empty nested the last one in 2020. She pretty much graduated from high school and was like, "Peace, I'm out." And we were like, "Yay, great. Go for it." you know. Um, and I think that initially I was a little curious about my own like excitement because yeah, it's like, what's the next phase of life going to look like for me, for my husband and myself, and for these kids, right?
Yeah.
And everybody had stayed fairly local until the past couple of years, and the middle one went off to a whole other country. And so that was a different kind of adjustment, but still very excited about what the future holds. So I'm shouting from the rooftop right along with you, Courtney.
Well, and I think that's a big part of it for me is I have this thought that I've been thinking for a long time is that like I'm just getting started. And so
Mhm.
not only in midlife did I become an empty nester, but I actually drastically changed careers. So I was a jewelry artist making a lot of money from a home business that I created, built this big, multiple six-figure business. Literally last week, I just shut that business down. In fact, I went onto Shopify this morning and actually physically shut that website down. And
Yeah.
so I've been building this coaching business. I wanted to build it up to where I was making good money before I shut the other business down. And I have this thought is I'm just getting started with everything. Like I'm playing more and more tennis now because tennis is something that I've just kind of put on the back burner for a long time. I'm getting even healthier in this phase of my life. I want to travel even more in this phase of my life. And I also will say is I'm building connections with my kids in a different way. As adult children, it's
Yeah.
it's just so exciting to be able to get to know them and support them in a different way, as opposed to this is what you need to do this, do this, do this. It's like, well, this is what I would do, but what do you think? I mean,
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
So much that.
It occurs to me that and I don't mean any criticism to people who have the sad experience of
Mhm.
empty nesting, right? Like that's also completely valid. But I think that this narrative that says that this should be devastating to you and you're going to grieve forever is kind of maybe tied in with the idea that like motherhood and parenting is a primary responsibility or primary identity for women. And so when you
Identity.
lose that,
Mhm.
then of course there's grief associated with it, right? Or if you were the kind of mom who really made your life all about your kids, then yeah, it's really disorienting to have the children not be there because now what do I do with my time? Who am I?
yeah,
But then maybe there's for other people like that has been a part of the identity, but not all of it. And then these other things, like now that I don't have these responsibilities, it's really exciting to think
yeah,
about what else
What
could
else?
be and
Yeah.
exploring other parts of me and having time and space and even the physical, like your room. Like,
Yeah.
physically, I can do different things with my space. There's not another human living in this room. It's
Mhm.
fun.
yeah. I love that you said that because I agree. No judgment to people that are really going through that. And I also agree it's probably really tied into their self-concept, self-identity. But at the same point, like we can say we're having a good time too. We're not grieving, and that's okay too. It's like whatever your experience is, it's okay. And I think it's an opportunity to go, oh, I'm really grieving. Is part of the reason why I'm grieving because I hold any guilt that I need to get rid of? Is part of the reason why I'm grieving is I literally don't even, like I have a few friends that they're all, I literally don't know what to do with my time. And so it's
Yeah.
like, that makes sense, but now it's an opportunity. I do think that, especially for some reason, as women who like, it's a generational, unspoken thing that we take care of everyone. So then when the little people aren't around to take care of, we're a little bit like, we don't know what to do. So let's start taking care of ourselves at a level that we've never done before. And can that be fun?
Yeah. Well, I want to name, it hasn't been so much of a paradigm for me in my experience, whether like a cut and dry, I grieve or I don't grieve, right? I mean, there are moments of grieving like woven into the whole experience. I was just sharing with these two earlier that, we're getting ready for the holidays, and this is the first year that our middle one is not coming back from Europe over the holidays. So yeah, there was like that kind of hit hard, that grief of like, wow, this is going to be really, really different. Um, and I metabolize that and I'm like, yes, and there's still some beauty in how they're going to our son is in Europe with his partner, how they are going to be able to experience this holiday season, and I get to see what that's like. And so I don't know that it's necessarily for me an either or, I don't grieve at all, or I'm like can't get off the floor. um,
It's the and. That's the most beautiful thing that I think you just said is it's the and.
yeah, because it is a complex thing. We have in our society been taught to invest our value and worth in being a mother, taking care of people, like we've said. And it's sometimes can be really difficult to tease out, yes, I am a mother and a strong badass woman and
A person.
a
whole
human
person.
being, a whole person.
Oh,
Yeah.
and you know what else? And what else do I want to be now?
Yeah.
That's
And
an
I
important
agree with you.
question.
Like I have been able to explore new things in the time and energy that is not going towards, mothering. And I love the relationships that we have with our adult kids. I'm probably in the best shape of my life because I've been able.
So
Yolanda and
cool.
I did a workout together this morning. In fact, she is in excellent shape.
That's awesome.
And this reminder that we are whole ass people, like we are
Yeah.
whole human beings.
Yeah, it's actually appreciating your frame around this is an opportunity, whether you're celebrating it, whether you ease into it, or it's a fairly easy transition. Like the transition itself, grieving or not, is an opportunity for anybody to look at what's going on. Why am I experiencing what I'm experiencing? I know for my mom, it was very hard when I left. She did have a very, very difficult time. And she recently told me my brother did as well, which I didn't really know. And so thinking through this frame of this is an opportunity, okay, it's an opportunity to look at what function was Erica serving by being a living being in the house, and then how can we all look at these relationships and figure out maybe some of our own stuff. But I love how you're framing it of, yeah, I was so excited, it's so excited for everybody. What does that mean? And I'm sure your kids are excited hearing all the things you're doing.
Yeah.
Really interesting for me to think about. And I think on both sides of it, I am always the weird one. Queering it up over here. But like, because I'm thinking about my own experience. Well, what was my mom, because you were talking about your moms. When I was a senior in high school, my mom took a job that required her to travel. She lived in with the family that she was working with. So the experience of empty nesting sort of was like, she left me. So my senior year of high school, I lived with my grandma, and like I was already 18 and I got myself to school. I got my own food. Like I was sort of on my own already. So me launching into high school or into college was so different because my mom was also not there. I dropped myself off.
Yes.
Right?
So do you have kids?
I do. And my kid, this is another place on the other end where I'm different. I'm divorced and I have 50-50 custody of my kids. So I already am sort of half-time empty nesting now. And I'm just thinking about that. I have had a lot of that because I've been doing it for several years now. And there has been at the beginning, especially like, what do I do with my time? And then also like, oh, I can cook whatever I want. I don't have to think about whether this fits someone else's food preferences. And I work out more and I have a pretty robust social life for somebody who has kids my age and is this stage of life, but it's because I have so much time that I don't just have the responsibility of my kids around. And then my oldest one now is talking about can't wait till she turns 18, doesn't want to do the back and forth thing. And then she's like, and then I'm going to live full time with you, Mom. And I'm like, oh, that also is kind of different from what we're talking about here.
You're like, no.
Not that I wouldn't welcome it, just like, oh, that will be a different experience from me going to have kids half the time to then having a child all the time. It's like, oh, that's backwards empty nesting.
But it is interesting to have I had the idea of like an adult child coming back.
Yeah. And she and I already have talks about being a good roommate too.
Yeah.
Like us living together in the same space and whatever. So I think that experience will be different, but I'm just the anticipating the launching and when I really am empty nesting full time, I wonder how that will feel or be different because I'm already so acclimated. I think the transition will just be different, or maybe it will surprise the hell out of me and I will have so much grief because like I don't know.
But being curious is such a beautiful thing. And that's why I was like, when I dropped my youngest off, it was like, okay, let's be curious. What is this going to look like? And I just think anything is possible. And so it's so fun to have these kind of conversations because like there's going to be someone who's grieving and then there's a podcast out there for them to say, here's some things to think about. Here's some things to focus on. But then there can be a podcast like this for women that are like, yeah, I feel like a weirdo. This is what I kept saying to my sister. I feel kind of like a weirdo because I'm excited. I'm excited too. I'm like, you and I are weirdos for sure. But it's just to let people know that there's not one way to do any of this.
Well, so you just said something that hit a curiosity for me, Courtney. Is this anything is possible motto for you? Do you play that out in other areas of your life as well?
All areas.
Yeah. And so this was a kind of a natural skills transference to do it from other areas of your life to empty nesting. Yeah, I think that.
I love where you're going with that. Like looking at how we have handled change or life transition in the past, and if you're someone who has resisted transition and you know that it's normal that you would go through a period of grief and whatever. Well, empty nesting is probably going to be similar because you're still you. And so you will go through your period of grief and whatever. And if you're somebody like Courtney who tends to go, yes, what's possible? Let's embrace the next thing. Then it would make sense that you would embrace this transition to empty nesting in the same way.
Yeah, I think it's the meaning that we can choose. Like, I think a lot of it has to do with the meaning that we attached to it, right? If we attach the meaning of like, this is the end of my life, I have no meaning and purpose at all, that you're going to feel a certain way about that. And if you enter in this phase with the meaning of like anything is possible with that narrative, it's going to feel a totally different way.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a really exciting time to be a woman. I mean, I think we have more money, more freedoms, more everything than we ever have if we look just throughout history. And I think that my thoughts are like anything is possible. I'm just getting started, which I do. I agree with you, Becca, is any area of my life, I really feel that way. I just think it opens me up to saying, how can I like choose how I want to think and feel on purpose? And that's just a really cool way to live in every area of life.
Yeah. I also think something that you had referenced earlier as well, Courtney. It's a really amazing time to be a woman, and women entering into middle age now. We look different now.
Yeah.
We look different. There are different societal expectations. There's different. So I think that all of that, I think, interplays with giving us this option of like, yes, there is life beyond raising kids and having this role as a mom.
Yeah, and even men and women. We're talking about women, but we can talk about men and women. I feel like if we look back, even just throughout the last 100 years, there's this idea of retirement that you work, 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 work really hard, and then you finally retire, and then you vacation a little bit. If you're a woman, you start, if you have grandkids, you take care of the grandkids. It's this like this set of expectations that most people do, men and women. And I think that we now can challenge that and say, do I want to do that? Or do I want to retire and start a business? Or do I want to get like in the best shape of my life? Do I want to start running triathlons? Do I want to say, no, I don't want to, I love my grandchildren, but I don't want to babysit my grandchildren 3 days a week. Or yes, I want to travel, but I actually want to do that. There's just so many options.
Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Do you have any like last thoughts about this before we wrap up, Courtney? Anything else you want to share? Or...
Yeah, I mean, I think that the even the name of your podcast is so brilliant because I think that like not what I thought. If you think about the things that I guess how do I say it in a more elegant way? We have our expectations about what is available to us based on the people around us, based on our culture, our society, our upbringing. And I think that every area of life we can look at with a new lens, especially with podcasts like this, where you can say, how can I think differently about this? And that is such an exciting way to look at every area of our life.
I think that's a mic drop to land on. No, I just appreciate that's landing on me in a particular way, just personally, and trying to because life is life and can feel monotonous from time to time, and it's like how do we refresh our perspectives? And again, that's a place that each of us has some agency on. Yeah, love that.
We should use that for our advertisement.
Yes. We'll use your soundbite.
Yes, please do. Please do. I'll say one other thing too, because you all know I'm also a coach. And I think if I look at, because I coach on a lot of different things. I coach on weight loss, on business, on just happiness, on relationships. I coach on all the things. Really, it's women in midlife and beyond who want to live a better life and all that, be healthier, everything. But when I'm coaching on any of those topics, it all centers around being willing to feel discomfort.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so that's when I look at thinking, oh, anything's possible. That sounds so exciting and inspiring. But then the next thing that happens is there's going to be discomfort involved. And I love how you're all shaking your head. So you know this. Hopefully some of your listeners might be like, oh, I never thought of it that way. But it's very exciting to think anything is possible. But then what stops a lot of people is then there's discomfort that is going to come up. When you think about possibly writing a book, if you've been telling yourself you're going to write a book forever, or if you think about starting a business or working part-time, or maybe leaving a marriage, anything that could come up, there is going to be discomfort. And so we're like innately adverse to any of that discomfort. And so it's going to be, how can you actually think anything is possible for you? And then how can you be willing to feel uncomfortable in pursuit of your dreams?
Absolutely. And metabolize that discomfort and alchemize it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're trying to do with our podcast. I think every story that we've shared and all the guests so far, there is the element of going through the very uncomfortable thing to get to the other side. And then I think everybody so far has felt like, oh, this is better.
This is better.
This is better than I thought it would be.
Yes. And then you create evidence that discomfort is actually the path.
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons I work out, is to remind myself that I can get through things that are uncomfortable to the other side, and there's a lot of benefit.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And you often feel better on the other
Yes.
side. Yeah.
So the instructor of our class today said, it sucks in the moment, you feel better after. I was like, I don't know about that right now.
But then afterwards you did, didn't you?
Of course. Yeah. Of course. After we
I-
drug each other off the floor.
I remember I was lifting weights in my bedroom. Sometimes I usually go to the gym, but sometimes in between clients, I'll just go into my bedroom really quick and I'll lift weights. And I remember a few days before I was speaking to my youngest, he's a wrestler, a D1 wrestler. So I was talking to him, I'm like, I just feel like I'm not gaining the muscle that I want. And he goes, you're probably not lifting heavy enough. And I'm like, no, first of all, I'm totally lifting heavier than I ever have lifted, but I don't want to hurt myself, which is a very common, especially women midlife and beyond. No one wants to, it's this thing everyone says, I don't want to hurt myself. And so he's like, yeah, okay. So the next day I was lifting weights in the bedroom and he came in to ask me something and he looked at me and I think I was doing overhead press and he goes, oh yeah, that's why you're not gaining the muscle you want. And I said, what? What are you saying to me? He goes, yeah, you're not lifting heavy enough. And I go, no, this is the heaviest I've ever lifted. And he goes, oh, I believe you. And you're not lifting heavy enough to gain the muscle you want to lift, that you want to gain. And we talked about it for a moment and he left and I thought, okay, so this is one of those moments where I've increased my discomfort level by lifting heavier than I ever have lifted. And now my son, and probably every trainer around would agree with my son, I need to go to my own next level of discomfort.
Yeah, there's always the next level of it. Yeah,
Always
that's
the next
true.
level. Yeah. And my son said something brilliant. He goes, and I go, I'm just worried I'm going to hurt myself. And he goes, you have to be willing to hurt yourself. And he goes, you might have to go to physical therapy. In fact, I am in physical therapy right now. I have tendonitis in my bicep from lifting the heaviest weights I've ever lifted for my bicep. And I'll recover and I'll be stronger. So yeah, the discomfort thing is a game changer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Courtney.
Yeah. Well, Courtney, what does your heart know to be true about this?
Oh gosh, it's such a beautiful question. I think what my heart knows to be true is that I think podcasts like yours, and I think messaging out there to women about this work is so important. And I think it's different than what women are used to hearing. I think it's a different message to really be willing to question why you think the way you think, be willing to question what's possible for you. I think it's a message that cannot be shouted from the rooftops enough.
No.
Mm.
We love that you're shouting it.
You too, you too.
How about you, Becca? What's your heart know to be true?
My heart knows that the way through any of these kind of life transitions is to like embrace what we know about ourselves. That part about how have I handled transition before and knowing that I will probably do it similar now, that's the part that's really sticking with me. And like there can be so much hope in that when we know we've been through rough things before. It's like, okay, I know that this is just how I do and I work through it in my way, and then we don't have to be so afraid of what changes are coming. What does your heart know, Erica?
My heart knows that this transition is a ways off for me. Mine are little. And I'm so glad that Courtney shared her story with us and with me, because now I can lean into the curiosity, similar to what you were saying, of how is it going to land for me, and then I can look at that and figure out what to do with it, and that can be fun.
Yeah.
What about you?
The thing that keeps coming up for me right now is we are stronger than we think that we are. We're stronger than we think that we are. And at some point, we just have to trust that. Thank you. Courtney, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yes, well, I have a podcast as well. It's called Modern Body, Modern Life. And I think that we probably have a lot of the same clientele listening, so they can find me there. And then, of course, my website is Modern Body. I'm Modern Body, Modern Life everywhere is how they can get in touch with me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Courtney.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it was great to have a conversation with you.
Thank you.